Joining us now on the Deseret First Credit Union Hotline to discuss Corbin Kaufusi, the BYU defense, and all things BYU football on Saturday against UMass is ESPN college football insider and friend of the program, Trevor Matich. He's back for another Matich Monday. Trevor, welcome to the program following a BYU win.
Wow, feels good. It feels good. This has been such a crazy season because there's been so many times that I've called you guys just feeling so deflated after just a frustrating loss. But after a big win like this, and this was a big win, it feels so good.
35 unanswered points for BYU after they surrendered 10 early in the game, and they really dominated from about 7 minutes left in the first quarter through the end of the game. Trevor, what was the best thing you saw from BYU on Saturday?
The fight. I mean, up there in New England, it's cold. There's every reason to get down to a team that's hot with a star wide receiver and a quarterback that can hit him and take half a step back. If BYU down 10-0 would have done that, then Andy Isabella and that passing game could have just taken over that game and run away with it. But instead, they gritted their teeth and they fought back on defense and then on offense as well. And that, to me, was the thing that stood out the most. It was that they had every opportunity to just open the door a crack for UMass to run away with it, and they slammed that door shut, and they took it back, and I love that.
My favorite part of the entire experience watching that game was the fact that BYU executed the play that they needed to execute against Boise State on the first touchdown. Talon Shumway with the slant. So I thought, okay, there it is. So next time it's going to work. It's going to happen. And that brings me to this. You talk a lot about the receivers and the fight and wanting guys to emerge. Talon Shumway had 3 catches. He had 2 touchdowns. The last 5 games, he's really emerged as a guy that's kind of become the number 1 receiver. What do you think of Talon Shumway and this receiver group at this point now?
I love him. I just love him. I love him as much as I was concerned about him for the last couple of years. And I think Shumway is one of the guys that has led the way. In watching this game, and I watched it on a panel of 8 games, right? So I've got like a quarter of an eyeball on that game and a quarter on another game, and then I'd shift them around. And whenever I saw him catch a ball, it was often in traffic with a fight. I mean, early in the game, he caught one like that. It was like a slant, and there were guys all around him, and then there were more guys there, and he didn't just fight to catch the ball. He fought to stay up, fought to keep the ball from being stripped out. And I just looked at that, and I thought, yeah, that's awesome. That's what they need. And you know what? That's what a young quarterback needs, because Zach Wilson, he knows the BYU receivers as fighters. He doesn't know them as guys that he wonders if he can trust them or not. And that's been the case for quarterbacks in recent years at times. But now I think that they've given him, the young quarterback, every reason to trust them so that he can put the ball into a tight spot, and they'll either take it or they'll make sure the defender doesn't take it. And Shumway, I tell you, it just makes me proud to see how he has led the way in that kind of an attitude.
Yeah, add Neil Pau to that list as well, who made a couple of fantastic catches for BYU and Zach Wilson. In your mind, Trevor, who was the MVP of the BYU-UMass game on Saturday?
I mean, you're right that's a tough one. That's a really tough one, because every time I looked up, 53 was flashing. Isaiah Kaufusi, everywhere. He was everywhere in this game. But if I had to pick one guy, I think I'd take Sione Takitaki. I'll be sad when he leaves, just like when Fred Warner went off to the NFL. Sione Takitaki is that guy. And again, I'd glance over at the BYU game, I watch it for a while, and that 16 was up on the screen on an ISO. And I said on College Game Day on ESPN Radio at one point during that time period that you'll be seeing Sione Takitaki in the NFL. I mean, this is a guy that brings everything you need to be a good contributor at the next level. And at this level, he's a bell cow. He's one of those guys that leads the way. And I think it's his attitude and his playmaking that really helped BYU, not just as a defense, but as a team, turn it around when it looked like UMass was going to run away with it.
He's played outside linebacker, defensive end. He's now playing middle linebacker for this team. Where do you see him in the NFL potentially?
I see him as a linebacker, and I see him as a special teams terror. You know, we'll see what his straight line speed is at the combine. I'm not sure exactly what that is, and that will determine in some ways what role they play him in. But I think NFL teams are starting to figure out that it's not just the measurables that make you a winner. You know, there was a time when if you were an amazingly productive college football player but you weren't quite fast enough in the 40. You weren't quite big enough. They didn't really give you a chance. They labeled you as that limited guy. But then some of those guys started doing it, especially at the quarterback position. I mean, Drew Brees, Russell Wilson, and now first overall draft pick Baker Mayfield out of Oklahoma, shorter guys that are belying what used to be the thought that you had to be 6'2" to 6'5" in order to be successful as a quarterback in the NFL. I think Takitaki is the same way. Now, he looks plenty fast to me, but we'll see what the speed is in the actual clock. But I think NFL teams will look at him as a guy who, regardless of what that number is somebody that knows how to win. He will make your locker room better, and he will make plays on the field. So I see him at a minimum as a special teams terror who could contribute in the rotation at linebacker.
Trevor, let me set this next question up with the following. BYU's defense in 8 of the 10 games this season have collectively allowed less than 24 points. On some occasions, single digits. Of course, the Northern Illinois one stings because they only gave up 7 points and still lost. But at this juncture, after what we've seen from Utah State, who put up 45, but they're scoring on everybody, is BYU's defense underrated?
BYU's defense is underrated. This is a team that statistically, nationally, is in the top 36, top 40 of all the major statistics. Points allowed per game, yards per rush, yards per pass attempt. The things that really are the measures of a defense. And they're in the top 40 in all of them, not just really good somewhere, but struggling in others. And with the schedule that they've played, against Washington, against Wisconsin, et cetera. This is a team, Boise State, really good offenses that they've faced. They've been consistently out